Hello everybody, this is Nick speaking. Welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster. Today's episode number 13, and we are getting somewhat close to the end of the series, as we're gonna say it is here. And today I added a few new buildings to the park, mostly the milkshake building over here, the Cosmic Cow, and also one up by the whirly rig, and just a few other kind of things to kind of bring that second path over here that was added off camera between the last episode and this one, bring that together and, you know, get ourselves ready to go for trying to make everything look nice and all of that. So yeah, it's gonna be, me just doing some last minute stuff, trying to get everything finished up, because yeah, this park is not carrying over into the next alpha. It's going to be ending here when I finish this sort of area up a little bit, and, that's fine. I think, it'll be a good time for a little bit of a change. I've learned a lot from, watching other people, and also from the stuff I've done myself in here, so I feel like if I go back and try to do stuff again, and I can do it very differently and, kind of make a sort of unique look for a new park again. So that's kind of why I want to do all of this. But yeah, as far as this episode goes, we're more or less taking this roof here and trying to, give it some detail here, and I ended up not liking that first one, so I think it's this piece I end up using for the roof here, because it actually does work very well for a roof piece, especially at this lower elevation, and you have another roof to the other side to kind of line it up to, because it's pretty much like a full block across, so there's not really too much you have to put in as far as actually getting the roof to line up correctly. So that's kind of what I did here, and it works out fairly decent. So I'm kind of glad that that works. And I mean, you do get all these little extra beams at the bottom, but it's not really anywhere near as bad as what you might get, say, with a door for the roof or something. Again, that's part of the reason why I try not to do this so much, is because I don't want to take up all of the rendering speed to try to make a roof that's going to more or less break the park for me, and then I can't actually make any more videos. That's kind of the thought behind it, is I want to be able to actually use this park and do stuff and have a sort of stable ground to actually work. So that's kind of what goes on here, and you know what? It's fine, and yeah. So this building here is going to be sort of an interesting one. I end up using a lot of these details in it. The stucco, the white stucco, and I definitely think just, varying it up a little bit, having two different types of trim, or giving different colors of stucco, different types of trim, the pillars, adding all that kind of stuff in definitely helps in making all this stuff look very cohesive and tie it in together. So I try to do this kind of stuff as much as I possibly can in this park, and especially too since we know we've got the other buildings around here too with kind of the same sort of style on it. I kind of want to just bring them all together, unite them in sort of a look, but have them look different enough too, so that it doesn't look like we're just taking the same building style and just copying it over and over. Just having that little bit of difference in detail, but yet trying to kind of make them look similar to one another really helps bring this entire area together, I believe, and I'm kind of glad I get to do stuff like that. So, Sorry about that. And the one thing about this, though, is where it does meet the roof, it is a little bit harder to try to combine it in, so that is one thing that I wish could be done a little bit differently, but, you know, I mean, it looks good overall, and we've got sort of the details to let everybody know, hey, this is the thing that's here, and yeah, and it kind of works out too because it's right by the other one, so we get to also have sort of a seating area there, which helps out a lot. And hey, it's a seating area for two different places now, and rather than just one. So that's kind of cool. And you know, yeah, just kind of detailing up this building here to kind of bring everything together. And it's not quite as easy with this building because we are trying to do all this other stuff with it. And yeah, I think, yeah, I just end up using kind of this topper piece, and then we use the same cornices from the lower part to kind of bring it to this upper part here, if I remember correctly. Okay, yep, see, there we go, copying it up, and then we more or less just bring that around the rest of the top part here, below the roof, and I think it ends up working out well for us. I don't remember if I put something else above this or not, though. Because it is kind of like not touching the roof itself, just floating a little bit below it, and that is one of these things that bugs me a little bit about it. Oh, okay, so there we go. It's this other trim we end up using to kind of make the top here, and what was it I put here in the corners? Oh yeah, just one of these little guys. And you just kind of bring those details into the corners, and you know, it adds just enough to the building here just to kind of make it look like those pillars are kind of the focus points of the area, and it worked out well, I think. And yeah, then we just kind of take the stucco, put it at the bottom. I think we put in these gaps too, just to kind of make it look like we just kind of finished this area off, and that works out well for us. So I think there were a few walls in the inside of the building then that I delete just because, you know, they're not really necessary anymore, so yeah, I end up doing that, and then now I think we get kind of the window design here going next, and try to line it up to the center of this area, which wasn't very easy to do, especially since we're doing kind of larger windows here, rather than the smaller ones we did before, and even bring in some details down below so we can give kind of the ceiling-ish thing there, and that's kind of one of the things that needs to get done, but we didn't really have... It kind of just worked out that that piece was what we ended up using, and yeah, as far as the windows on this building are concerned, I did keep it kind of simple with just that sort of roof and nothing else, and then yeah, I also ended up using this sort of trim up here at the top to kind of bring the roof in and make it look like it fit into the building itself, which ended up working very well for us. And then I think I tried to put a door over here, but I end up not doing it if I remember correctly. We do end up, you know, kind of bringing a little bit of details down here to the bottom too, so with this guy, so that way we can kind of think about, you know, getting this looking sort of similar to the rest of the building. I end up using these sort of, I don't know exactly how to say the word, but those pieces to kind of basically cement detail in and make it unite it to the rest of the building here, which ended up working pretty well for us, and I think I do end up putting a little bit more detail onto it here still, because yeah, I decided it needed it, and I think, yeah, it's just the window thing here, and I sunk it into the wall a little bit, which kind of just gives us the sort of frame here. End up putting this on the front of the stall here to kind of, bring the counter a little bit forward and make it look like that all fits in together nicely, and it definitely does, so kind of glad about that. And yeah, then I also bring this detail to the back here, and then I think it's the window on, we put a window here on this side. And then, I think after that it's just, I think that's pretty much all we do with this building. It's just, bringing those details around the entire building and making it look cohesive. And yeah, of course, this window is a little bit of a problem because, we're trying to put it on a 1.5 tile wide thing and we only have 1 tile of space. So that was kind of interesting to kind of try to get that detail in. And then, oh yeah, I just put some more of those little hangy things, and we're going to put some more of the plants into him. And again, just kind of take one of those details we already have and more or less put it into this area as well, make it look like this is definitely meant to be a part of everything. So I think bringing these plants in and kind of hanging them on the buildings and all of that does definitely help with all of that kind of stuff and making these buildings look sort of like they're meant to be like one cohesive unit. And I think that's how this just looks really good. And yeah, I end up taking some bushes, decorating around the outside here now, and kind of making it this sort of foliage all the way through here. And I don't think it's a ton of foliage I ever put down, but it definitely looks good, and I do like just having the little bit of detail here around the building that kind of unites everything together here for us. So yeah, just a few plants in here, and I think that's actually all I end up doing on this building over here. So next we end up coming over here behind it. Then we have the side path over here that I ended up putting down before. And yeah, more or less I just kind of want a building here to kind of anchor this area to the area where we have the Sky Ace and the building behind it. So I end up putting this little building in back here that kind of tries to do that for us. And I think it's one of these, it takes a little while for us to actually get it in, but yeah, because the game, if I remember right, decides that it needs to crash on me here kind of soon, and there were a few of those this episode, me trying to get this done. So yeah, it was a little bit harder than usual to try to get this episode recorded, but it might just be because we're pushing the limits on this a little bit. I'm not entirely sure if that's the case, but, at least we kind of know what the limit is, and I can kind of remember that and think about how I need to do things differently so we don't keep hitting it over and over. So, yeah, I end up just doing a flat roof on this because flat roof ended up being a lot easier to do, and then I still use this kind of detail here. Although, as you can see, the bottom floor, we did take the sort of painted wall, I'm going to call it. It's more like the modern one, and I kind of added that to the bottom part here to kind of say, hey, this building's kind of a transition building between these two areas, rather than being a building that is here to just kind of exist and fit in here and make it look like this is the end of this area. So I think it serves its purpose well in this location, and I did end up trying to rotate it here a few times, seeing if maybe I liked a different alignment better, but I think I end up just going with the one we started with because it made the most sense. And yeah, it's just kind of this building here to anchor everything in. So yeah, I think that is what goes on here. And yeah, just a lot of trees back up here too, just to kind of make it kind of disguise that this is the edge here a little bit. And I think being able to do these kind of things definitely helps us out a lot with saying, hey, we're kind of delineating between these two different areas of the park, and it actually works out pretty well for us. So yeah, then we just kind of get a few rocks over here, basically bring the cliff around the rest of the ride over here, put in some more foliage, and you know, basically make it look like this is the edge of everything, so we can basically make it look like the area down below is completely separate from the area up above. And don't remember if I actually get the foliage in around the bottom part down here, but definitely do around the upper part here. So I think at first, yeah, I just fill this entire area with that flower, and then I'm like, no, that doesn't look right. We need to replace it. And yep, right away I'm like, no, not happening. So yeah, just end up putting a few of the other bushes in here too, and it works out fairly well for us, because again, we kind of need a little bit of variation in foliage to kind of make these things look good. And that's the end of the first clip here. Moving on to the second one, we're actually gonna continue on with the building up here at the top. I decided I wanted to kind of put a door in somewhere over here and put a few windows and other details into this building as well, because again, it's kind of weird if this is our only building and we have no details in it whatsoever. So I'm like, yeah, let's actually get that taken care of. So that's kind of what's going on here, and it actually ends up being our kind of interesting sort of detail we added to this area, which I like how we have the kind of brick stuff and then the stucco up front, the white part down below, and all of it ties together very well with one another. And I think other than the details I already have in here, I think I keep the actual building itself mostly the same. But I do end up adding like a few of these scaffolding things in, and the netting one here, and basically kind of integrating these into the area around the building to make it look like it's a planned sort of area, and basically make it look like this building is extending even though it's not really, which ended up working well for us. I do also end up putting this sort of plant underneath the netting there and let it poke through a few spots, because I thought that looked like it would be kind of an interesting detail to add in. And yeah, I think that for the most part is what all we do on this building. I did try to see if I could put maybe like a detail here up front or something, but I end up putting the ship mast here in the front. Kind of add another wood detail, and I think that's it for that building. So now we're gonna kind of move down here to the other side, the Sky Ace, which kind of this area we haven't been to for a long time, and I decided I kind of want this sort of long planter here between the two paths, because the one is kind of like our exit for the Sky Ace, the other one over here goes by the sort of entrance restaurant area and up to the pirate area. So to kind of try to keep those two, make them look like they belong in the same area, we kind of just add this little bit of detail here, and it worked pretty well. So I kind of wish I could disguise all of the curbs on the sidewalks there, but it didn't really work out well. So, and I think if I remember right, yep, it's this one that I end up putting the entire way down the length of this, and then fill it in with kind of just that green bush again, because apparently I'm in love with that green bush, and I think it's like the best one ever. So I keep using it over and over and over again, and yet somehow it still looks fine, no matter where I seem to use it, so. Probably one of the more versatile flowers in the game at this point. Actually, I suppose it's not really even a flower, it's a bush. So yeah, I just seem to want to use that one everywhere, and again, kind of another sort of planter area here in front of the Sky Ace, because I need to let people know it's over here, and, you know, also people are going to be walking right by it when they're going up to the pirate area if they take this sort of back path over here, so yeah, I think this is where we start having the crashing issue. So I'm going to stop here for a second. We're going to come back when we have better things, and actually it looks like we're moving again, so maybe that wasn't the crash? I know there's a crash in here. I know there is. Oh, okay, it's right after we build this path where we crash, so I'm gonna stop it here, and we'll pick up for the last. Okay, so we did have that crash there, which I cut out of the video just because it's kind of frustrating, and then I'm placing the same thing over and over again, and it just didn't work. So here I am finally building the sort of trellis over this queue line for the thing, and yeah, I did decide to extend it as well because the entire thing was basically filled up by the time I actually got over here to building this building. So it's like, huh, even though I haven't really done much of anything yet, this is already full. I should probably change something here because it's not working out very well for us at this point, but as you'll tell with this, as you'll probably tell with this, we have basically this flattish sort of thing here, and well, it's gonna end up getting too close to the right here, so I end up having to move it backwards, and then we kind of put a building behind it, which actually didn't have enough time to finish for this episode, because this is kind of already running long, and, well, you know what? Why didn't I just kind of take this and put it in the next episode? Now I'm wondering this. Okay, but we end up doing it anyways, and I think what happens here, I take this tower from the right below, bring it up here. Again, just, you know, taking one of these little details, adding it to a new spot, making it into like a building here, though, which kind of makes this entire area sort of fit in differently, and I think that helps a lot. But yeah, that's kind of, there's not really too much going on here, and we're just kind of, you know, bringing this into the pirate theme and making it fit in so we can, you know, worry about getting the rest of this going on. And there's that little, oh yeah, I did take care of that little gap by putting the second story of that building over it, so that was one of the things that needed fixing that we actually did. And then I think that's actually going to be all we end up doing for this episode, because I kind of ran out of time to actually detail this building for this episode, but next episode when we come back, we'll definitely be able to get that done, and that's going to be the first thing on the agenda next episode. After that, we'll see what we end up doing with it, because I think I just kind of want to, you know, continue to tie up all the loose ends we have in the park and see about finishing it up so we can kind of get everything going, and we've only got a week left till the next alpha version. So that's actually going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!